Hi, this is Kirk McDonald, President and Project Manager with Practical Environmental Solutions. In the 1990s, I was a licensed geologist with a master's degree in geology working for the state of North Carolina. I saw more and more calls coming in about problems with underground oil tanks at residential properties. Nobody was really taking care of these and doing them well. So in 2001, I started Practical Environmental Solutions specifically to help people with residential underground oil tanks and to do contamination cleanup. Since that time, we've removed hundreds and hundreds of oil tanks, more than any other company in southeastern North Carolina. Why is an oil tank a problem? There's really several reasons, but the first thing you need to understand is this affects lots and lots of properties. Every house that was built before 1970, 1975 probably started out with an underground oil tank as the heating source. So this means it affects thousands and thousands of properties all across North Carolina. So when these oil tanks were first put in the ground, they were only meant to be buried for about 20 or 30 years. But a lot of these tanks are still in the ground today, only now they're 50 to 80 years old. These steel tanks are actually fairly thin, some of them with the thickness only of like a quarter. So after decades of corrosion, it's really not surprising that over 90% of all underground oil tanks have leaked, contaminating soil and possibly groundwater. The third concern with oil tanks is the environmental and financial liability. Most of the tanks have leaked, contaminated soil and groundwater, and therefore actions are required to meet state requirements. Sellers need to remember that their liability for the tank and contamination doesn't end simply by selling the house. Sellers can end their liability by properly closing the tank and addressing the contamination. Once buyers purchase the property, they become at least partially responsible for the tank and contamination, even if they didn't actually use the tank. So buyers can limit their liability by having a licensed professional remove the tank and check for contamination. Because there are liabilities for both the buyer and the seller, it's important for everyone to know the status of the tank and to understand the current state requirements and liability implications. Our tank evaluations determine if the tank is leaked or not, and if the tank can be safely removed, or if it needs to be closed in place. You never want to just fill a tank with sand or foam. It's a waste of time and money, but that's a topic for another video. After our tank investigation, we'll provide you with a professionally sealed report describing what we discovered, a tank closure estimate, and several solutions if contamination was found. Once a tank status is known, the buyer and the seller can decide what best actions to take for their tank situation. So why should you choose Practical Environmental Solutions? All of our tank removals are conducted in-house. That means you get the expertise of the same crew that's been working together on hundreds of projects. We use our own equipment that is perfectly sized for residential oil tank work. And I am personally directing the tank removal and contamination cleanup, even the yard repair on every project. So we can't change the facts, and we didn't write the state and federal regulations, but we can help you resolve your tank problem and end your liability. Look at our Facebook page, see our Google reviews, and be confident that we can take good care of you. So if you're a buyer or a seller of an older property, give us a call at 790-8265. And thanks for watching.